Ladies and gentlemen, will the congregation please rise?
A very good evening to all of you, and a warm Wits welcome tonight to this inaugural lecture by Professor Helen Du. My name is Professor Garth Stevens. I am the Deputy Vice Chancellor for People Development and Culture, and I do all of those things related to people and planning and so on at the institution. And it's truly a pleasure to be with you all this evening for this inaugural lecture by Professor Du from the School of Business Sciences in the Faculty of Commerce, Law and Management. Let me take this opportunity to formally acknowledge all of you here tonight on behalf of Wits University. As members of the Wits community, as colleagues, as students, friends and family members of our inaugurating professor, those of you who are here in the room with us, but also those of you who are joining us through the live stream online. I would also like to make a special mention of the Cameroonian High Commissioner, who I'm not sure if the Cameroonian High Commissioner has already joined us, but may join us either in person or online. Also, the President of the Cameroonian Professors in the Diaspora, welcome to you. I'd like to welcome Professor Jason Cohen, the Dean of the Faculty of Commerce, Law and Management, our Acting Head of School, Professor Samuel, Dr. Ward Lubber, who's from our counter university down the road at the University of Johannesburg, who will deliver the vote of thanks. And of course, a very, very special welcome to our inaugurating professor, Professor Helen Du. So, tonight is a very special night. It's a night when the university formally and very publicly acknowledges the personal achievements of a scholar as she attains the highest rank, the apex rank of an academic at the university, and that is the rank of the full professor. Now, of course, you've been a full professor for a little while, Helen, but of course, this is your coming out into public moment, and so this is a really, really important moment for you, but for us as an institution as well. It's important for us to acknowledge your achievements not only in the university, but also in the broader public domain. And so the inaugural lecture is open to any member of the public. It's free of charge, and this is for you to share your knowledge and scholarship that you've attained over many, many years. But this is also a moment when we can acknowledge that this achievement is not only yours. This achievement is also reflective of immense amounts of investment, support, mentorship, sacrifice, and care that has been shown by loved ones, by colleagues, by collaborators, by family members, and I know you have some family members here tonight, as well as friends. And so this is really an opportunity for us to collectively share in this moment with you and to celebrate with a communal sense of pride in the achievement that one of our own has attained. That, of course, also reflects on us as an institution and as a community. Professor Du, we look forward to celebrating with you and experiencing your thoughts and insights this evening. I know you're going to be talking about a fascinating topic on early life experiences and money attitudes in later life. So really, really looking forward to that. As someone who works in the area of how people grow up and how they come to be who they are, it's fascinating to hear the accounts of how people come to consume and understand money. Yeah. Let me just say, that the inaugural lecture normally involves a full professor going about their business, sharing with colleagues and the broader public their body of work. Or sometimes they share the future of their work, or sometimes they share a combination of these. So even though it brings with it a sense of anticipation for the inaugurating professor, and this is a kind of a moment that is, it's a once-in-a-lifetime moment. And so people often experience this with quite a sense of anticipation and awe when you are the inaugurating professor. But please do remember, Helen, that everybody who is here tonight really wants to be here tonight. They're supportive of you, they're interested in your work, and all I can say to you is really just enjoy this celebratory event. I've worked alongside Helen in staffing and promotions committee meetings in the Faculty of Commerce, Law and Management. The one thing I can say about Helen is unafraid to speak her mind. And so I have no doubt that you will speak your mind on this matter this evening, Helen. And like I said, we look forward to it and really just celebrate the event for yourself. Without belaboring my opening remarks, let me formally call on the Dean of the Faculty of Commerce, Law and Management, Professor Jason Cohen, to introduce our inaugurating professor. Professor Cohen.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Stevens, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Acting Head of School, Professor Samuel, Dr. Ward. Good evening, friends and colleagues. Of course, welcome, Professor Du, and to your family. What a wonderful occasion to celebrate Helen's academic achievements, celebrate your elevation to the position of a full professor here at Wits. A very special moment indeed for Helen. We're very much looking forward to your presentation. But before we get to that, I have the privilege of introducing Professor Helen Du and sharing with you her academic journey. Professor Helen Du completed her Bachelor of Science at the University of Uyo, Nigeria, received her honors and masters from Wits University and her PhD from Nelson Mandela University. She researches, supervises, develops projects, and initiates international and African collaborations in the areas of consumer behavior, social marketing, transformative consumer research, and brand management. On consumer behavior, she conducts interdisciplinary research by delving into family, consumer, and social psychology to understand how childhood, socio-psychological experiences affect later life money attitudes, various consumption orientations, such as materialism, compulsive buying, and ultimate consumer psychological well-being. She also conducts research on environmental sustainability, consumer online shopping, and decision-making styles related to fashion and retail products. From these research areas, she has published over 30 accredited journal articles, 6 book chapters, and 23 accredited peer-reviewed conference proceedings. Over 82% of her publications appear in top international journals, with many in ABDC A and A+ rated journals. Her research has generated close to 1,300 citations with an H-index of 16 and an H10 index of 23. Her research is being cited by many top global scholars. In her field, the Scopus Academic Index ranking places her among the top in South Africa and 74 out of over 70,000 scholars in Africa. Professor Du has lectured in South Africa for 20 years and worked at the University of the Witwatersrand for 10 years. Internationally, she has guest lectured in Sierra Leone, Nigeria, and Germany. She has supervised to graduation 13 PhDs, 5 masters, and 30 honors students. Out of these supervisions, 17 articles have been published in good accredited international and national journals with her students, including ISI and ABDC A and B-rated journals. These demonstrate the quality of supervision she provides to her students. Professor Du is a C2 South African National Research Foundation rated researcher which means she's recognized by her peers as an established researcher. She has collaborated with top international scholars in the USA, France, Belgium, Germany, China, Canada, and several African universities. She is the only African appointed to the advisory board of the Global Transformative Consumer Research Group, which has its head office in the USA. She also participates in a Swedish research group that conducts experiments in 90 countries on social norms and environmental attitudes and climate policies. Professor Du also has a remarkable record of internal university citizenship. She has represented the school at the Graduate Studies Committee as chair, the faculty as member of the Recruitment, Selection and Promotion Committee, coordinated the PhD program, and of course, served as the head of School of Business Sciences. As its first substantive and now former head of school, Professor Du did an outstanding job of steering the school through the difficult period of transitioning between COVID and online remote teaching back to campus. Through her dedicated mentorship and deep interest in staff development, she massively transformed the school's academic staff, and through her efforts promoted many academics up the ranks and into various leadership positions that will benefit the academy for many years to come. She grew the school's postgraduate enrollments, publication units, and built the school into a financially sustainable entity with world-class facilities. She did all these while demonstrating her own leadership in her research and achieving her own promotion to full professor, which of course is the reason we are all here today. Professor Du, it is now my pleasure to invite you to the podium to deliver your inaugural lecture.
Wow. With such introduction, do I have to do any presentation? Thank you so much. The Wits University Chancellor, Dr. Judy Glamini, I'm happy you're here. The Deputy Chancellor for People Development and Culture, Professor Stephen Garth. The Dean of Commerce Law Management, Professor Cohen Jason. I thought our Cameroonian commissioner would be here. Our ambassador is not here yet. The cultural attaché from our embassy was supposed to be here, not here yet. Distinguished professors in our midst, especially Prof. Samuel Wamba from France, and he is the president of the Cameroonian professors in the diaspora. I'm happy you're here and you could make it. And we also have our former president, Cameroonian professors in the diaspora, Professor Ernest Cameron. I'm happy you're here. My family, colleagues, and friends seated here, I thank you immensely for your time, and with the cold weather, you could make it to honor my invitation to get some feel of the journey that I've made to be here. But first, please permit me to thank some people who have been in this journey. They say it takes a village to raise a child, but to raise a professor, it takes villages, nations, people, so many other interactions. So permit me to acknowledge quite a number of people who have been in this journey. First, I'm a Christian. I want to thank God so much for his protection, provisions, some consolations from his word, because there are times you are so feeling bad, and his word consoles me. And there was one time I was in the hostel when I was honors master's student, and I would not have money to go home. And I would just be talking to God. Why am I here? What's happening? How do I go about it? So he was even my friend when I was all alone in the hostel, could not go home. I thank my late father and my mom so very much, because my parents, they had 10 of us, 7 girls, 3 boys. And the uncles did not want us to go to school. They counted the girls, they got the plots, They were waiting for each marriage. They will build them a house in those plots. And, and my parents stood their ground that their daughters would go to school. So I really thank them for giving us the opportunity. And I don't know whether my mom should be listening. I remember my father was a timber contractor. He was rich at a point, and the business failed. And my mom would get up every night to prepare food to sell to supporters. And I used to sit and I cry about the strain that we've put on our mom to take care of us. I hope she's listening somewhere, and she should be proud by now. I also have to thank my son. I'm sure he's here. Yeah, he became one of my best friends. He became my father and my husband, and he would not even, I would not dare not to answer his phone call. If he calls and he does not get me, he's like, "Mom, pick up your phone." And when I travel, "You didn't tell me you landed. I will look for a cane. I will look for your cane. You landed, you didn't tell me." So, yes, Riddell, I'm proud of you for being there for me. And I want to thank my sister who is here as well. She's also my best friend, my project manager at home, and a counselor. She's very well-resolved person, and I go home, she would direct me on what to do. And sometimes you want to give and give. When I want to give, I'll look at her face. She would say, "Don't. You give, then now you are dry, and you now start looking for money to come back." So I thank all of my colleagues who are here, my colleagues from the School of Business Sciences, especially my marketing colleagues. And I thank some of my students, Bonolo and the family. I thank my postdoc who is here too, Dicola. Thanks, you're here. And I'm sure I should go back to business now. So that's my topic. Childhood, early life experiences and later life money attitudes, shopping and consumption orientations. Then I'm asking the question, are there well-being consequences? Even though I'm settling on this topic, as the Wadin has told you, I am specialized in other areas like brand management, transformative consumer research, and social marketing. So I'm just taking a portion of my research, and I'm doing the presentations. So where is my presentation located? It's under marketing. I know you would think, is she a psychology? What kind of topic is this? It's still under marketing, but it falls under social marketing. And social marketing is about, using all the means, including marketing communication for behavioral change. So I've read a whole lot of consumer psychology, family psychology, to understand consumer behavior. The next question, what is consumer behavior? It's the study of how individuals, groups, and organizations select, buy, use, and dispose of goods, services, ideas, experiences to satisfy their needs and wants. And how they use the goods is determined. You all know about the Maslow hierarchy of needs. And they would use the goods either to satisfy their physiological needs or their security needs. But if you look at the arrow, I am looking at how they would use the goods to satisfy psychological needs and sometimes maybe self-actualization. And how do they buy the goods? The extent to which they would buy the goods, it would be determined by their money attitudes. What money attitude? I would come to the definition. And how do they dispose of the goods when they buy it? It would definitely have some environmental implications. Like you look at all of the plastic bags all around us, is how we dispose all of the waste. And in terms of the group of people, most of my research has been looking at Generation Y and Generation X consumer group. But before we go further, let's look at some statistics. Why am I looking at all of those types of consumption orientations? And if you look at the statistics, you would see that in South Africa, people who earn around 20,000 rand, they accumulate debt, about 27% of their income that they have to spend, servicing their debt. People 35,000 that they earn, they are in debt about 172%. So most consumers in South Africa spend their time paying debts. And now you would see what are the implications. If you are in debt, will you be healthy? Psychologically, your well-being, your financial well-being, and your emotional well-being. And how much of their total income is part of the debt is, you would say, 16.7%, then 9.3%. All of it comes from the income that they earn, and they have to use it to settle their debt. Why are they buying beyond their means is part of what we want to understand. So I would play a video of overconsumption, a situation in the UK. I don't know whether the team is ready there.
My name is Jasmine Harmon, and I know firsthand how devastating a compulsive disorder can be.
All through my life, I felt like my mum's stuff was more important than me. It was purely a compulsion that she couldn't control.
I've helped Mum and people all over the country deal with their obsessive behaviour.
Get rid.
I'm really proud of you.
Now I've become interested in another secretive condition.
So you actually keep your living room locked?
Compulsive shopping.
I don't know why, but I can't stop myself.
We all shop, of course.
I want it, yay!
But some of us shop much more than others.
I think I've spent about £9,000 just on shoes.
I will be out and then all of a sudden I see a bargain.
I forget really how much I'm spending.
It just continues to just buy and buy and buy things that we don't really need.
I explore what happens when shopping spirals out of control.
It's really taken over my life.
I don't like shopping, but shopping likes me.
I can't even trust myself.
I discover the roots of the problem run deep.
I haven't been in there since I put all the girls' clothes in.
And the impact on shoppers and their families
I do feel pushed out, to be honest with you.
can be far greater than simply overspending.
I don't want to have shopping taken away from me, because that would be like my whole world come to an end.
Yeah, you can go where she explains how much you earn it there. Okay.
It's thought that as many as 8 million people in the UK have a compulsive buying disorder.
Shopping is my life, like I live to shop. I'm not married yet, and shopping is like my husband, like my companion.
I've been told about 30-year-old Dipna, a self-confessed shopping addict.
Have a lovely day, thank you. Bye.
Capable of spending thousands in a single transaction.
I do feel as if it's out of my control. I might not want to buy, but I just buy it.
She's filled a wall of wardrobes with designer jewellery, shoes, blazers and bags.
This was 3,000. This was 1,600, and the wallet was about £700. I got credit cards. That's probably the worst thing that I could have done.
Despite living at home, earning £500 a week teaching and writing about cookery, and co-managing her dad's restaurant, Dipna is struggling to fund her habit.
I'm in about £7,500 debt. These earrings are like £200 each, £220, £250. When I can't go shopping, depresses me. I've cancelled work just so that I can go shopping. I know that's not a good thing. I can't imagine there being absolutely no shopping. I don't know what I would do. What else would I do? If I didn't shop, what would I have to look forward to? Nothing. There'd be no life without shopping.
I
I don't think I've ever met anybody before who sees shopping as their best friend.
Okay. You've heard it. What will I do without shopping? Why should you even leave work to go and shop? Do you have enough money to shop that much? So with that, that is why you will see the constructs that I want to explain is materialism, compulsive buying, shopping orientations, money attitudes, self-esteem, happiness. And just from that video, you can just know what would be the outcome, the consequences. Definitely financial well-being would be impacted, and there will be some psychological and environmental well-being from all of that. But now let's look at the definitions of materialism. What is it? Materialism actually has three constructs or dimensions. People shop because they think the material goods will give them happiness. Some people shop because they want to use it to show that they are successful in life. And like that lady, she is centrality. Her whole mind is about shopping. That is why that is that dimension. So what will I do if I cannot shop? Her life is centered around shopping. Then compulsive buying is when you are so preoccupied and you've lost control. There is nothing you can do. You just keep shopping, and you are shopping because you are depressed, and depression pushes you to shop further. So that is the cycle with compulsive buying. Then you have shopping orientations. Shopping orientations is that pattern way, the approach you will take before you go out there to shop. What is the cognition you have before you go out there to shop? In most cases, some people go out there to shop because they are perfectionists. Some people go out there with the brand loyalty mindset. Some people go out there, like myself, I go out there to shop. I am confused by over choice, too many choices. So it depresses me actually to go and shop because there's so many options. I don't know which one to choose. So there are about like 8 types of shopping orientations, and even novelty. Some people, every function, they want a new clothing, So those shopping orientations would guide some consumers when they go out there. Then what is money attitudes? It's an emotional and attitudinal meanings and feelings that you have when you deal with money. What is that emotion and feelings you attach around money? And the feelings could be, I want to have money to show that I have achieved. I want to have money to show status. I want to have money because I want to budget it very, very well. And some people, money makes them to be worried. So you have about 6 money attitudes dimension: achievement, status, worry, budgeting, and would come to all of the other variables. And in between them is self-esteem. There is something about you generated from maybe your life experiences that would affect your self-esteem and might drive some of those constructs. Then the psychological well-being construct I study is happiness. And happiness is like your life satisfaction built on whether you feel life is pleasant, whether you feel life is good, or whether you feel life is meaningful. So those 3 constructs, they make up happiness. Then the next question, why am I doing all of these studies? Why am I pushed into this? And I remember when I came to South Africa in 1999, 2000, I was an honors student studying, and I was a postgraduate merit award student, and the money they gave me wasn't enough to pay my rent and everything. While I was still struggling, doing hairdressing and everything for additional income, my father called me like, your direct junior brother is at home. If you don't find a way for him to go to school and follow you, he will be a gangster. Do something. Then I was collecting my data for masters. Can't pay my rent. My father is saying my brother will become a gangster. What do? I climbed the 11th floor, met Professor Loizo, who was the vice chancellor then. I'm like, I so need money to collect my data. I need help. And he says, Helen, to the extent you have the courage to climb up to the 11th floor, I would give you the money, but just convince me. Give me a list of what you want. I wrote a whole lot. Fly to Cape Town, do this. They're like, oh, so you have money, you want to fly. Can't you take a train? So at the end of the day, he gave me 40,000 rand. I would never forget. Now I'm taking that 40,000 to conduct my study, pay part of my rent. My father said, remember what I told you? Your brother, you don't support him. I had to use that money to send to my brother, and I brought him to South Africa. Did all the jobs that you can ever imagine to support myself and my brother. He was in KwaZulu-Natal University doing maritime study. I knew I have worked so hard to support his fees. And then he was supposed to graduate. Towards graduation, they said he's owing fees. I'm like, I've been giving him money for fees. Why? And one of his friends told me that he used the money to buy a car. And he told the friend that when he was growing up, my father allowed my senior brother to drive, and they never allowed him to drive. So he really had wanted to drive. As I'm fighting with him one hand, I'm trying to do my PhD. My supervisor asked me, Helen, what is your topic? Let me know your topic. I'm like, childhood experiences and later life behavior. So I had to go dig into all of the concepts. What is it in your past that would push you, even at adulthood, to want to behave in a particular way? So now it begs the question, do you think early life childhood experiences can change your later life ways by which you select, purchase, use, and dispose of goods, which is consumer behavior? Do you think so? Just have a reflection. Is there something in your childhood that is driving your behavior currently? And you would think, okay, let me reflect. But what 1974 had long predicted that childhood experiences are of paramount importance in shaping patterns of cognition and behavior in later life. We may be able to predict some aspects of adult behavior by knowing something about your childhood experiences. So, and there are current researchers like Mushi, who studies a whole lot of consumer socialization. They have developed theories to understand how your childhood or early life experiences would impact your later life behavior. And some of these theories, first of all, the theory, they are embodied under the life course approach in studying consumer behavior. And that life course approach is very innovative, multidisciplinary, and there are many aspects of it that you can use it to study our current behavior. But it encompasses three theories: the human capital theory, the stress theory, and the socialization theory. And we'll look at each of them. The socialization theory proposes that children's patterns of thought and actions are developed through the process of socializations. Since the family is a socialization agent, disrupted family events such as divorce, marital discord limit effective parenting, and which may have included the teaching of rational as opposed to symbolic and maybe status type of consumption. So if your family is disrupted, children are not taught the importance of money and everything, there is a tendency that they might not go along with the rational way of making decisions. So the socialization process is influenced by the family structure. And that is what Mushi is saying. It starts from the family structure. And that family structure could be whether you are an intact family structure or non-intact. Intact means you grew up with both of your parents. Non-intact, and that is what the US people categorize, non-intact means you did not grow up with both of your parents. But does that apply in South Africa? In South Africa, you have not only intact, non-intact, you have child-headed homes, granny-headed homes, and there are many categorizations under those ones. And it begs the question whether some of the findings would apply with our current family structure. So intact two-parent families are less likely to put an emphasis on the importance of material goods for happiness and success. But in disrupted family situation where one or both parents have been absent, children's socialization into desirable rational consumption values may not happen. And why does it not happen? When you are not there to teach them the right behavior, what happens? They gravitate towards their peers, and their peers would tell them what to do, how to buy, how to make decisions, the importance of money. And even as I stand here, I was influenced by peers, and I'm sure some of you, I don't know whether you recognize me, I don't do lipstick and all of this. Some peer people influenced me on how I appear today. So that's the socialization. You either teach your children, both of you, on the importance of money, or someone else will do the job. So then there is the human capital theory. It posits that the accumulation of human capital, such as resources, qualifications, skills, and knowledge, is a life course process that begins early in your life. Life course researchers attempt to identify salient life events, roles, and environment settings that act as sources of human capital growth or decline. And if you look at that, definitely Tiger Woods' son or daughter would surely be a tennis player because of the knowledge, the skills they have developed. And even my son went round and round sports marketing, supply chain management, and now he's doing marketing like the mother. You see now how it influences, because I talk about marketing around him. So the family is also a source of human capital through the provision of financial resources for children's education, future wealth creation, and emotional resources for a sense of self-worth. And if you look at one of my variables there is self-esteem. So if you don't give your students emotional resources, love, attention, role modeling, pocket money, food, everything, it would affect their self-worth. And that self-worth would translate to some kinds of shopping orientations that you might not like. So human capital is very important. So the next theory is the stress theory. The theory suggests that an adverse event that happens in the family, such as divorce, can be a cause of psychological disequilibrium for children. And divorce may be accompanied by other disruptive events, such as role reorganization, frequent physical moves to different locations, diminished emotional and material support for children. And sorry, I just keep giving example for what I know. I just told you about me being a single mother, my son being now my husband and my father. Always worrying. Instead of growing a young man freely, now he worries, Mom, are you fine? Did you arrive? Is the gate locked? You know, all of this kind of, he becomes a parent when he was not supposed to be that because of some disruption in the family. So disruption events are stressful and their emotional demands may continue later in life, needing coping strategies. And those coping strategies can be overbuying, like you got from the video. The coping strategies might be reliance on money as status, and so many other compulsive buying, and so many other dysfunctional consumption orientations. And all of this was put together. Mushi, he put together this model that has been tested around the world. He says events that happen at a point in time in your life would go through those three theories to influence your consumption orientations later in life. And they have tested it with different variables. And when I was doing my PhD, I read about this model. I asked him we should work together. He's in the US, and you can see his citations. He has about 20,339 citations. But when I saw it, I went, wow, but there's somebody here who has about 40-something thousand. So there's some other bigger boys amongst us. So he's a big guy in the US. He's the top in socialization study. So I contacted him, and we had to work together to test this model. So, so he gave me the support. I had to publish one of my first paper out of this, published in the International Journal of Emerging Markets, and I was testing all of the three theories in South Africa. So what were the results? So that was the result, and the key finding when I tested those three theories is that peer communication, which comes from socialization, does not influence materialism. Peers from the generation Y I studied did not significantly influence materialism. Family resources, and in two dimensions, emotional family resources and economic family resources. Two of them influence materialism. Stress from disruptions would influence materialism, but for this study, it wasn't significant. So the predictors that I studied here were peer communication that impacted materialism, and disrupted family events created stress and limited family resources. So when you are stressed, there is something within the family resources. Either you did not get role modeling, or you did not get enough pocket money, or any of those items in the family resources. And that stress that you get would increase materialism. And family resources, if you give your children, I've tested, if you give them all that love, all that attention, everything, even when you are not very rich. And now remember, my father would always tell me, this is my beautiful princess. He built that self-esteem in me. And you would work very hard to break my self-esteem because of the emotional family resource I got from my father. So it works. I can testify. So I did that paper alone, tested those three models. Then now, when I published it, one of the core seminar authors in France, Professor Sarah Benmoyo, called me to Paris in Université Dauphine. Like, Helen, I saw your paper and I'm happy. Can we test your data with the French data? And we did that. And she invited, because I was always talking about Professor Mushi, like, this guy is a big guy. So he says, I would invite Professor Mushi and we'll write that paper. Then with her colleague in France, we compared the French and South African data. And what did we find in terms of the comparison? The study found that South African young adults were more materialistic. Do you believe that? That was my finding. Than their French counterparts. While family resources received during adolescence did not have a significant impact on South Africans' young adults' materialism, these resources did significantly and positively affect French young adults' materialism. So their family resources matters than it matters in South Africa. The impact of peer communication about consumption during adolescence on materialism at young adulthood was positive and significant in both countries. So you see, the peer pressure is so strong. It matters in South Africa, and it matters in France, and it mattered today on the way I look. So now, after meeting Mushi and testing his 3 theories, I told Mushi, but these 3 theories, yes, you say stress, human resources, socialization would in fact impact materialism or compulsive buying. What about money attitude? The money attitude should have a moderating effect. Even if I did not get enough family resources and you say it would impact my materialism, but if I'm a stingy person, I don't think I would buy anything. If I am money attitude budget, I don't think I would buy because I have been trained to budget my money. So he says, Helen, are you now opposing my theories? I said, let me try. Let me try. So I introduced the money attitudes as a moderating effect in that model. Then I tested it. Now I had to test it alone. It's like, hey, I'm not sure about what you're saying. I've tested my theories over and over. It works always. I said, let me try with money attitude. So I tested and I published alone, and that journal is ABDC A-rated journal, the Journal of Personality and Individual Differences. And I tested with about 826 South Africans. And results showed that perceived stress had a strong positive impact on later life affective money attitudes. So if you are so stressed, you will look at money as a symbol of status. If you are so stressed, you will look at money as an element of worry. So those are affective money attitudes. But all of that did not affect later life materialism. What affected later life materialism was family resources received, which had a significant impact on first the affective and the conservative money attitudes. The conservative money attitudes are your budget money attitudes and the budget money attitudes and the one where you plan very well before you use your money. And the amazing thing, when you have a conservative money attitude, it tends to inhibit materialism, compulsive buying, and all of that. So when I got that idea, I had to work with one German to say, I have a result here. I realized that there is a solution to compulsive buying. There is a solution to materialism. Why don't we see when you insert the conservative money attitude, what would happen to happiness? Will it inhibit compulsive buying? And we did the study, preventing compulsive buying among young South Africans and Germans. So I had the DAAD scholarship, went to Germany for 3 months, and we did the study. We collected German data and South African data, published in Young Consumers. The journal is Young Consumers, and it's a B-rated journal. So what we found when we did the comparative study, emotional family resources received during childhood positively impacted happiness. So now you see that if you love your child, you give them all the attention, it would affect their happiness. And that happiness, too, would give them those conservative money attitudes, and those conservative money attitudes would prevent them from shopping, and the unreasonable shopping. So now I started liking this money attitude story. So now I went further to look at 2 of the life course theories, how they affect money attitudes. And Sprouse and Kendall had 40 items. When you factor analyze those 40 items, you would get 8 dimensions of money attitude. And those 8 dimensions are price-conscious consumers, perfectionist quality consumers, you have the impulsive consumers, you have the confused by overchoice consumers, you have the recreational consumers, you have the brand-conscious consumers, habitual loyal consumers, and you have the novelty fashion consumers. Just sit for a moment and reflect, where do you fall? What is your shopping orientation? Somebody wants to tell us. I've told you mine is confused by overchoice. Anyway, so now those are the 8 shopping orientations. How does peer communication during childhood and how does your family resources through the human capital theory affect your consumption orientation? So I did this work with a Nigerian in Covenant University, and we compared our data between South Africa and Nigeria. And what were the findings? The result found that 6 out of the 8 shopping orientations you found there, I gave you, they are common in Nigeria and in South Africa. And some of them, number one, the young people we studied in South Africa and Nigeria, surprisingly, they have the perfectionist shopping orientation, price consciousness, quality conscious. And then we discovered another item that is not in Spross and Candace items. So that one is uninterested and time conscious and uninterested shoppers. Do you think that would be male or females? Yeah, time shopping and uninterested. So now we looked at all of that. How does the 2 theories, peer and family resources, affect those shopping orientations? So our structural equation modeling results revealed that family resources and peer communication received during adolescence predicted most of the 6 consumer shopping orientations in both countries. 2 other common orientation was confused by overchoice and novelty conscious, in addition to that other variables we found. I also looked at the mean differences, which one is stronger in Nigeria and which one is stronger in South Africa. And those were some of the results. Which one is stronger in Nigeria, those shopping orientations. So now I started moving towards what are the psychological impact of all of these: money attitude, materialism, compulsive buying. What are the psychological impact? So now I had to collect data from China. I went to China. Actually, it was in Canada. I met somebody in Canada, and she worked with another person in China, and we collected data to see how those, especially the family resources, affect self-esteem in your later life, and peer communication would affect money attitudes, and how money attitude will affect materialism, and materialism your psychological well-being. So we've got some results there. It was a lot of analysis we made, especially as we were doing comparative studies. And we found that Chinese millennials were moderately materialistic and do obtain some happiness from materialism. That was a surprise finding. They are happy when they are materialistic. Could it be because they are only one child in a family, and if I don't have a brother, just give me the goods? I don't know. Materialism was explained by the human capital and socialization life course theory, whereby self-esteem mediated in how family resources received and peer communication during adolescence impacted materialism at young adulthood. Self-esteem was a good predictor of 5 money attitude dimensions, which can help hinder materialism depending on the domain that you looked at. So now it's like a chain effect. Give your children the emotional support. Give them all of the attention. It builds their self-esteem. Self-esteem makes them to choose the conservative money attitude. That conservative money attitude prevents them from being materialistic, and that increases their psychological well-being. So it's a chain effect. And you would think, oh, my child spends too much, oh, credit card debt. Or my wife spends too much, oh, credit card debt. just give them the love. You won't see them in the shops. Okay, so that was the study I was trying to explain, and that is a lady in Canada, even though she's Chinese lady, that I worked with in Toronto, and we did that study. And I've given you the results. So that is part of the research I conduct, all of what I've told you, around childhood experiences and later life behavior. But I also do other research. And I've done research, especially with my PhD students. And one of them first was electricity conservation that we did, PhD. Professor Paul Isok should be here. And we publish in Social Marketing Quarterly. And I've done mobile marketing in SMEs with another PhD student. And it was published in the International Journal of Information Management. And that particular, from my PhD student, generated, like now, is about almost 500 and something citations. And that journal is A+ rated journal. It's a top journal from a PhD student work. Then I have done myself on my own. You know, Americans categorize consumers, baby boomers, Generation Y, you get all those classifications. So I did a personal work. How do we use South African events to classify consumers according to generation? So I looked at all of South Africa's history, everything that happened. Then I put them in our own category and not the American one. And I published in the International Journal of Emerging Market, and it's attracted quite a number of citations. Then I've done social media and blood donation with another PhD student, published in a top journal, Telematics Informatics, from my PhD student. I don't know whether she's here. I've done generic medicine and perception and everything with another student, and it's published in the International Journal of Pharmaceutical Marketing. Green appliances and organic food. Green appliances I did with one of my PhD students. She's here, Professor Nombulelo. And we have published it in Social Marketing Quarterly. And then we have done quite a whole lot of other. I even went to Nigeria, collected data, developed some students, and I published with them. Then the one I have highlighted is an amazing study I did with a German, where you use gamification. Consumers play games. They push items away, and the speed at which they push items away, even unhealthy food. You measure the seconds that they take to push what they like and dislike. Those seconds will tell you their tendency of either eating unhealthily in future, or the seconds will tell you whether they will be alcoholic in the future. So I worked with them, this gamification, and I highlight, because that journal is one of the top journals in Germany that we published, like 4 of us, one person from the UK, that we did gamification. Then the last one are 2 studies. I mentored 2 PhD students in Nigeria, and I published with them, and now they are working in Nigeria. So now I'm still working, even though I'm a full professor. I have quite a number of PhD students. I don't know, Dr. Nkiru is here. I've worked with her to develop the first 4 P's of brand leadership. That is the first 4 P's, and we tested with Dangote, we tested our data with MTN, and with another company, and I just forgot. With 3 companies, we tested our data. Then we have looked at successful underdog. That is what we are looking, and it's with one of my students, my student here, on underdog brands, and we are looking at quite 4 underdog brands in South Africa. One is Capitec, Fly SA, and the other one, okay, I'll remember, 4 of them. Then I'm also looking at nation branding, and I'm supervising the CEO of Brand South Africa on nation branding, and we are still working. I'm looking at university branding with one of my colleagues, Mr. Aaron Koopman, and I'm looking at branding social courses with Ms. Bonolo here, And we'll be working on how you can brand social causes. Keep your environment clean. Don't drink and drive. All of that. How can you really develop a brand out of that? So what is my future research? What am I working on apart from supervising students? We've gone to Botswana. We are looking at the mining sector, and we are looking at their sustainability models, and we are looking at the extent to which they have developed green competencies, and the paper is on the review. And with one of my master's students, we are looking at green training. We are looking at how various communications, you can use various communications to help young people develop green competencies. And you watch the space, I'll be publishing that paper with him soon. Then I'm also looking at, because from our entrepreneurship clinic that we are running, we are looking at what was your skill before entrepreneurship and what skills did you develop after you get the training. Which are the skills do you develop after that, pre and after? And I'm working with one of my colleagues on this in Canada. Then, yes, I'm also looking at childhood experiences and e-shopping and psychological well-being. And apart from all the psychological well-being, financial well-being, what is our consumption behavior doing to the environment? I put this to just give us some consciousness of what we are doing to the environment, all the plastic bags and everything. And I remember I presented this work 2 years ago in a Global Social Marketing Conference, and it won one of the Best Paper Award. And my future business now is to start a center of sustainability and well-being, and I'm looking for funding. And I'm happy that some of my colleagues from the UK, they are happy for us to start a center, and it's one of the reasons that I resigned from head of school to work on that Center of Sustainability and Well-being. So I thank you all. Merci beaucoup. I'm so happy. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Helen. What a wonderful and humorous and occasionally cheeky, but undeniably honest, fascinating and insightful journey through what is actually quite a serious topic on consumer behaviors and money attitudes. And I think what we also learned a lot was the importance of being brave, being willing to knock on doors, and how you negotiated your own space in quite an impressive global network. Congratulations. And the faculty is undoubtedly privileged to have you among our professoriate. So please, another round of applause for Professor D. We're also privileged to have with us this evening Dr. Isolde Ward, who I'll shortly invite to share her own thoughts on Professor Du and to offer a word of thanks. By way of introduction, Dr. Ward is head of the Department of Marketing Management at the University of Johannesburg. With over a decade of experience spanning academia and industry, she brings theory and practice through strong collaboration with the Marketing Association of South Africa. Previously head of UK Marketing Communications at KPMG and Mazars, her expertise includes professional services marketing and teaching strategic marketing, consumer behavior, and retailing. Over the last 10 years, she's published numerous journal articles, conference papers, and textbook chapters, supervised postgraduates at PhD, master's, and honors levels, and received multiple accolades, including the 2022 Excellence in Teaching Award, 2021 Master Supervision Award, and 2024 Leadership and Management Excellence Awards. She also hosts an honorary doctorate, a postdoctoral research fellow, and 4 distinguished visiting professors, reflecting her commitment to academic leadership, capacity building, and internationalization. Dr. Ward, it's indeed an honor to have you visit us here at WITS. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. Please do come to the podium.
Can I close this? Good evening. From the Orange River at the other side. But we do love this side as well, I promise you. Thank you. First, thank you to the chair for being here today. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to the dean as well, Prof. Cohen. My best friend is married to a Cohen, so must be something good going on there. Head of the department, Prof. Samuel, thank you as well. And the star of the evening, Prof. Helen. Absolutely amazing. And as somebody that strived to being maybe one day full professor too, I think the people here in academia will know it's quite hard to do that. 1,000 citations is not just 1,000 citations. It's really well done, and we aspire to you. She's an absolutely lovely person, and I've published with her as well and been conferences, and an absolutely super academic and an even more super person. So well done tonight, and I hope you enjoy that tonight as well. So from a marketing point of view, or from I won't be too academical, because I know there's loads of people that are not academical or academics. Just a response to the actual presentation. Just a few words. Thank you for compelling and thoughtful, provoking talk and being so honest. I definitely sat here today as well and thought, oh my gosh, I wonder what shopper I am. But I'm quite a few. Is that also possible? I'm definitely not just one. It depends on the mood and the stress and all of the other things. But the pressing challenges, summarizing it for us, the overconsumption, the resource depletion, the consumer debt, environmental deterioration, and how consumer behavior all sits within all of this and contributing to all our behavior. I wish it wasn't true, but we are unfortunately not always making rational decisions when we buy. I wish we did. So as a young student, my dad gave me a little budget, but I had to work every holiday. I felt very sorry for myself while everybody was going on holiday, and I had to work because my dad paid a little bit, but I had to pay the rest of my fees. And I remember this little money that my dad gave and the rest I had to work for. He said to me, remember now, Isolde, this is a budget, not a target. So I think that's also something, while we shop, that we need to think about. Your approach for tonight's presentation is very refreshing. It goes beyond the traditional static approaches of consumer behavior, but also addresses a new lens of this early life experiences. So it's advocating a life course approach, which I find absolutely refreshing. It's presenting an interdisciplinary approach and consider lasting influences of the childhood and the early childhood that shape our attitudes of money, shopping, and consumption behaviors. Just from also sitting, thinking, reflecting on my own life, I quite have something for cheese. Yes, I do. I really like cheese. And to think about childhood, where it's actually coming from. My parents lived on a really strict budget. My mum was a full-time mother and one income, and they bought one wedge of cheese a month for the 3 children. It's funny the things that you remember. And when it was finished, it was finished. So my mum would divide this, wedge of cheese in half, and she would put half in the freezer, and then you would eat, and when it's done, then you'll take the other one out, but when it's done, it's done. Guys, I have such a fetish for cheese. I buy so much cheese. If you open my fridge, you will see quite a lot of cheese. I never can finish the cheese, but it's because of something that happened in the childhood. I really like cheese, and I wanted cheese. I know it's a funny thing. It could have been something more expensive, so it's just interesting how these behaviors do drive how you buy something. So in turn, these consumption patterns affect our individual and our collective well-being, which is definitely true. And the three theories that you used, I'm not going to mention in order, but the stress theory adds further depth into this destabilizing of our emotional foundations, as well as the psychological disequilibrium that happens because of that. So these all manifest in coping strategies for later in life, as you said, the materialistic attitude, the compulsive buying behaviors, and this all to restore our control and our self-worth, which is quite a refreshing way, again, to sit and think about this. So the strategies in life, so consumer behavior is not related in isolation and can't happen in isolation. And our rational decisions are all intertwined with our emotional and social foundations, as we've seen. The socialization theory, our family dynamics and gratifications actually face how, how it forms how we buy, how many people there in the family, how many siblings. Again, my husband and I, we have 6 children together, and which is quite weird for these days, I know. But my twin girls will always say things like, yes, but, this one has this at school, and this one has that at school, and this one this. And I say, yes, but they're the only child, so the mother can have, for all of this. We have children at university, children at school, so I'm very sorry, the iPhone is not going to happen. We have to work for the iPhone, unfortunately. So how it impacts how you buy, how people buy, that is absolutely really true. And I think we can stand still and think how we actually teach our children, or just people, you don't have to have children but just how we talk about money and how we talk about behavior, as well as the role that marketing actually can play in helping us to, to know and have knowledge of how we buy, what we should buy, what the impact is of debt. For example, somebody, I won't say what age I am, but I feel very young, so it's okay. But we need to think about retirement. I know it's still quite, some years away. Don't start judging how old I am. But a financial advisor told me about 2 years ago that for every million that I've saved, I can actually spend 4,000 Rand a month. And I thought to myself, if I have R1 million in the bank, I can only actually take out 4,000 Rand a month. What am I going to buy with 4,000 Rand a month? Hopefully cheese. But the problem is that, 1 million would probably be not enough, but that's the type of conversations that we should have with our children, with our peers around the table. So thank you for that. So the SA consumers struggling debt income, this is where I'm coming with the actual retirement and stuff like this. Yes, we've loads of debt, but some stage we need to pay all of this off. And again, where can marketing play a role to actually inform people and do good? Not just drive consumer behavior in spending, but actually spending socially responsible. So marketing is such an interesting field. So the different shopping orientations, definitely, as I said, I don't even know, because I have so many, I can't just say I have one of them, but the choice of clothes, the over choice is definitely something as well that is not working for me. So the self-esteem and happiness, how it's essential to the well-being and how it's linked to consumption. I think it was quite an interesting finding there as well. And then how do we mitigate these behaviors to actually through social, economical, and psychological interventions? And I think there's even room for further, research in those fields. Also, as I've listened to you, I was thinking about the interesting fields of hyper-personalization and echo chambers and the role that can play in this type of studies. So I see loads of future studies. Wait for the Orange River to come over this side to ask for that studies. I've already got an ideas for a future study. So yes, and avoiding how we can help, how marketing can actually help with avoiding this overemphasis on entertaining overconsumption, if you can say it like that. It's absolutely remarkable, your studies that you've done and the many PhD students that you've supervised, and I want to congratulate you on everything you've done and wish you all the best. And we're looking forward to see all these beautiful articles that's coming out, even if you're in sabbatical. I hope they don't drive you too hard while you're in sabbatical. And thank you for the opportunity to being here, and we congratulate and salute you tonight. Well done. Thank you.
Friends and colleagues, that really brings us to the end of this evening. Let me thank you for joining us. Thank you very much to Dr. Ward for those words of reflection. Thank you to Helen's family and friends for being here to support her and to celebrate with us. Let me thank colleagues and students from across the university for joining. Thank you to those who have also joined us online. Thank you to our functions and events team for their organization and ensuring everything ran so smoothly tonight. The university's Chancellor, Dr. Judy Dlamini, thank you very much for joining. At this time, let me welcome and invite you all for some refreshments in the foyer outside, a chance to catch up and, of course, to congratulate Helen and perhaps to bend her ear a little bit. One of the things about an inaugural lecture is it's the only time a professor doesn't get to face questions, at least not in here, but perhaps over some refreshments. I'll ask the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, the Acting Head of School, Professor Du and Dr. Ward to lead out the academic procession, and we'll meet you all afterwards outside. Thank you very much.
But